Hello and welcome to part 4 of the Emotions mini-series, How to Process Emotions. In today's video, we're going to be working with the emotion of fear, so stay tuned. Fear is an integral part of our lives, deeply rooted in our evolutionary history. It served as a crucial survival mechanism, keeping our ancestors alert to potential dangers. In our modern world, fear can sometimes be triggered unnecessarily, leading to irrational fears or even phobias. But fear doesn't have to control us. Fear is that magnificent guardian. It's an ally and protector. It's there to keep us safe, but it can also indicate where our limitations are and help us to expand in new and magnificent ways. From a young age, we absorbed our parents' fears and societal messages that we received about the world around us. Perhaps we learned that the world was risky or dangerous and that we needed to be careful and guarded. These fears became ingrained in our minds, shaping our beliefs and influencing our behaviors. So let's look at 3 powerful tools to start to work with fear as your friend. The first tool in working with our fear is awareness and reflection. Take some time to check in. What are some of the fears that you're currently holding and how are they affecting you? Where did they come from? Were they fears based on your own experience, or were they messages you received from others? You can grab a journal and jot them down. Ask yourself questions like, is this fear still serving me, or in what ways is it holding me back? By bringing these fears to light, you're able to work with them and transform them, so they no longer have control over you. The second tool is mindful exposure. Once we've identified the fear, we can start reframing our relationship to it by gently and gradually exposing ourselves to it. There's a variety of safe ways to be able to do this. In my practice, I use powerful NLP techniques that help you to do this in a safe way. If the fear was caused by our own experience, the mind would have coded that experience and etched it in our memory. So in order to change it, we need to recode that memory. So let's take the example of being afraid of dogs. Perhaps when you were a small child, you had a dog jump up on you, and the way that your brain coded that experience was to make the dog 10 times bigger, ferocious, maybe it was drooling. You could hear that vicious sound, and there was a particular feeling that arose in the body. You then locked this fear of dogs into the cells of the body. So in order to rewrite the story, we need to change and play with that coding. We can do this by shrinking the dog really, really small, turning the volume down, or turning it into a different color. These are some fun ways to create conscious distortion that will help to change the way we relate to this particular fear. Another aspect of mindful exposure is starting to reclaim your power by facing that fear. An example in my own life was I have, for as long as I can remember, been terrified of driving on highways. This really came to light when I started driving and I had to go on long journeys. I used to have a panic attack every single time. I'd have to pull over, and it made no logical sense why I was having such an intense reaction. But when I started to get curious about where this fear was coming from, I found out that I'd had a few negative exposures to driving on a highway when I was younger that I'd completely repressed. When I started to clear out these old experiences, intellectually I understood that it was okay, but my body kept reacting in the same way. So I used mindful exposure to continue facing that fear, and every time it got easier and easier, and I felt more and more confident. When I recognized what specifically scared me about it, I was able to work with those aspects as opposed to thinking I was a complete nervous wreck. It's really crucial to be kind when it comes to our fears, recognizing where they come from and what are they bringing to your attention. A lot of times fears can actually be holding unprocessed trauma, so we need to work with it really mindfully and with deep compassion. Which brings us to the next tool, self-compassion. Fear is often accompanied by self-critical thought and a sense of inadequacy. In order to change our relationship to fear, we need to lean in with compassion. One of the most potent processes that we do in my program Wayfinder is called a home for your darkness. What this activity does, it allows us to actually bring in our fears and give them a safe space to be in. When we integrate the things that we reject most about ourselves, this is true self-acceptance, where all parts of us are allowed to be held, safe, and secure. Like many of our other emotions, if we don't know how to work with it, it works against us. So instead of trying to suppress or ignore our fears, recognize that fear is a powerful guardian. It's there to protect us, but it's also an invitation to expand past those limitations that hold us in place. One of the most transformative ways to work with this emotion of fear is to bring it into the light. As children, we were too afraid to look under the bed when we thought that monster was lurking beneath it. But as soon as we were brave enough to take our torch and shine the light there, we could see that there wasn't really anything to it. Most of the time, this is true for our fears. So while our fears can help guide us to some limitations or unprocessed trauma, they can also reveal some limiting beliefs that we received from our family or society at large. As children, we often heard our parents when we were feeling really brave and courageous trying to climb that tree. Perhaps we'd hear their voice in our head echoing, "Be careful, don't climb that high," and their voice has become ours. So as we work with changing our relationship to fear, we can also change our relationship to this inner voice. When we recognize that a lot of these fears aren't even ours, we start to liberate and free ourselves from the shackles that were put on us. Life is unpredictable and sometimes chaotic, and this can feel really scary. When we learn to change our relationship to the unknown, we no longer try to avoid it or procrastinate against it. We're able to embrace it in new and potent ways. So I invite you to get curious about your current relationship to the unknown. What do you believe about it? Does it cause you instant anxiety when you think about it? Does it feel exciting? Just start to recognize, how do you feel about the unknown? When you start to change the way you relate to the unknown, we create immense liberation inside ourselves. The unknown contains more of who and what you are, and if we don't move towards it, there's these aspects of yourself that will be left undiscovered. It's okay to feel scared, but that doesn't mean that it has to stop you from moving forward. Another powerful way to work with this emotion is when fear arises in your body, how does it show up? What does it feel like for you? And instead of trying to brush it away, really sit with it for a moment. What is it trying to reveal to you about a particular situation? Sometimes fear can actually come up as a gut instinct or just a sense that something is unsafe. It is vital to be able to differentiate between fear that's keeping you safe and fear that's holding you back. In the case of fear that's holding you back, you can use the techniques that I was talking about, like mindful exposure, to help you move through it. When it comes to fear that's trying to keep you safe, it's really important to learn to listen to that intuition. If you find yourself in a situation that doesn't feel right for you, we want to be able to listen to the fear that's coming up and know if it's asking us to actually move ourselves out of a dangerous situation. When we're able to work with this guardian of fear, we're able to keep ourselves safe, but also expand into greater experiences. So a powerful tool to recognize if it is a fear of limitation or if it is a fear that's trying to keep you safe is to ask the body. Usually if it's a fear, we'll feel like we're getting stuck in a story about the experience. When we stay with the emotion in the body, we can start to get curious about what it's trying to say to us. Perhaps we get a feeling about a particular person or a situation. Where in the body do you feel that? And what is that fear bringing your attention to? Perhaps it's asking you to move out of the situation, away from that person, or it's showing you something that doesn't quite align with your values. Remember, fear is not the enemy. It is there as a guiding force that can lead you to personal growth and transformation. So it's time to step out of that comfort zone, face those fears, and watch yourself thrive in the most magnificent ways. So if you found this video beneficial, remember to like and subscribe for future videos. This is only part 4 of a 7-part series. And next up, we're going to be exploring the emotion of joy and how to cultivate more of it in our lives. So stay tuned.